Hello, this is Father Bruce Wilson, the Executive Director of Coastal Bend Community Empowerment in Corpus Christi, Texas. And this is video number 3, part 2 of a series of videos on voice of people who are experiencing homelessness in Corpus Christi, Texas. I encourage you to watch the introductory video. If you haven't already done that, please watch the introduction to understand why I'm out here in the dark and what the purpose and the scope of this video series is. This topic today, part 2, is deep down, no one really wants to be homeless. Some of us who are new to the streets are experiencing the euphoria and the new autonomy of freedom, liberation. However, most of us have discovered after a few months, maybe a year, that the streets are brutal and an unrelenting place to live. Many of us might even continue to say that, oh, we like being unmortgaged and not paying rent, and we like living on the streets. We might look tough and defiant when cops or others give us a hard time, but don't believe it. That's just on the surface. Deep down, we are simply acknowledging that we have mixed feelings about the alternatives to living on the street. We don't like to feel as if we're not normal, but we're scared to death that we can't make it in society. It's easier to lie to ourselves than to be vulnerable to you. If I can fix that. Shelters, they're a blessing on a cold night, but we can't all function in close quarters full of people who are like us. Some of us can, a lot of us can't, with expectations and rules that we can't all handle. Yes, there are rules against the use of drugs or violence that are good and necessary, but even these non-negotiable rules can be addressed through restorative justice rather than retributive justice. These are issues we need help with, not to be banned forever. Help us. Ask what happened to us that makes us dysregulated and self-medicated. Learn about trauma-informed care, about why we have such a hard time focusing, concentrating, avoiding drama, not perceiving the world as dangerous, and just keeping the rules of normal people. Deep down, we don't really want to be homeless, but we don't even trust ourselves, much less you to help us. If you want to understand about how trauma impacts us, then just wait for the video on what happened to us, or read the script that I'll be posting in an email series. But the script is available, and read down to what happened to us if you want to understand trauma. Our trauma brain, I think of it as a brain injury. Our trauma brain and our survival mode of existence wipe out our trust in other people, even in ourselves and each other. It's a physiological thing, not just a psychological thing. It's neurological, physiological, biopsychosocial. We don't really want to be homeless. But we're like the homeless community in Dallas. The city of Dallas recently had good intentions, very good intentions, of moving all of their people experiencing homelessness from the streets into housing. But we're needlessly frustrated because they never invested in building trust, never invested in building a relationship with us, never included the homeless community in Dallas in the decision or the process, never stepped down from their ivory tower long enough to quit talking about them without them before making their unilateral decision about homeless people. We're used to trading our dignity even for a sandwich. But for one-way, top-down giving that makes the giver feel good, that only sees us as needy and unfortunate, rather than as persons who need to be known rather than just fed. One-way, top-down help that divides us from them, rather than personal engagement, which reveals that when any of us is diminished, we are all diminished, both givers and receivers. And when any one of us is blessed, we are all blessed. We are much more able to respond to outsiders who take the time to build relationships of mutuality, reciprocity, dignity, trust, who invest the time to get to know our stories and our hearts, who include us in the decisions that affect us. We don't really want to be homeless, but we are ambivalent even about transitioning into society. We know there are benefits to living in society, but do we really want to be assimilated into a society that sees and treats people the way it does us? We don't want to be homeless. We just don't trust the alternatives. We're just scared of failure. Hell, we're even scared of success. There are very few exceptions. Very few of us who have become so attached or addicted to the streets that we can't or we don't want to get off, or wouldn't get off if everyone else did. So don't take everything we say at face value. Like all real people, we have ambivalence, maybe more than others, about a lot of things. If you really want to understand our deepest wants and needs, if you really want to know the truth, ask us. Not just when you walk by and say, "Hey, how you doing? Why are you on the street?" "Oh, because I want to be." Those are superficial, flip conversations. If you really want to know the truth, get to know us. Listen for our ambivalence. Listen for our struggle. Find out what happened to us. The next video is called "What Happened to Us." I'll see you there.